Amy at the Grass Valley Library. Thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Random Acts of Science. I'm glad that you came today. We are going to be talking about our sense of taste today, and we're going to be doing an experiment that's going to involve tasting a whole bunch of different things. So it should be a lot of fun. So if you've ever stuck out your tongue, you probably noticed that it's covered in tiny bumps. Those are called papillae, and each of those bumps contains some taste buds. Taste buds are actually sensory organs on our tongue that can taste different flavors and send that information to our brain. So inside each one of those little tiny taste buds, there are hundreds of tiny hairs, and those hairs are called microvilli, and those are the hairs that are actually discerning between the different tastes that we're experiencing. It's not just your tongue, it's also, your nose is also part of the taste process. There's, when you start chewing a food, there's a chemical reaction inside your mouth, and that some of those chemicals kind of go up the back of your sinuses and into your nose, and your nose gets involved, and it also sends information to your brain about what it is that you're tasting. So if you've ever noticed when you've had a bad head cold and you just can't breathe at all, your food doesn't taste as good or it tastes different, that could be one reason why. Your nose has a lot to do with your sense of taste. So there's usually, there's been 4 different tastes that our tongues can detect. We have identified receptors for all 4 of those, and those are sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. And I bet you can think of foods that would fit into those 4 taste categories. But not too long ago, they came up with a 5th category, and that category is called umami, and that includes things that are a little bit more savory. So Parmesan cheese, my favorite nutritional yeast, pork or gravy, some meats, fish sauces, things like that all fall into that umami category. So today we're going to be working with the initial 4 flavors, but just keep in mind that if it doesn't seem to fit those flavors, you might really enjoy the taste of umami if you like things that fall into that savory category. So, all right, so let's find out what's in the bag today. If you haven't already gotten one, you can get one at the Grass Valley Library or your nearest library to you. On the outside of the bag, you'll see a QR code. You can scan that, and that will take you to right here to this YouTube video. Inside the bag, you're going to find an experiment explanation sheet. On the front, it's going to tell you what's in the bag. It'll help you understand what else you might need to do the experiment at home, and then it'll walk you through the steps you need to successfully complete the experiment. On the back side, there's more information about the science that we're going to be talking about, and there are also links to even more information. If it's something that really interests you and you want to find out more about it, you can follow those links. Also, inside the bag today, there are 2 data sheets, one for you and one for your partner. So this is a partner experiment. You're going to need either a friend or an adult or a sibling or somebody else to do it with you, and you're each going to take part in the experiment, and you're going to trade roles. One of you is going to be the tester, and one of you is going to be the taster. And then you're going to switch roles. So you're both going to get to do both parts of the experiment. So these data sheets are where we're going to record the results of what we find out when we taste these different foods. So let's find out what's inside the bag here. What else is in here? So we've got 4 paper cups. I've pre-labeled these for the sake of doing this video, but the first one's going to be salty. That's one of our flavors. The second one is bitter. The third one is sweet, and the 4th one is sour. So you can also label the cups before we get started so that you can remember what part of the experiment you're on at any given time. Also, you'll find some Q-tips in a baggie. You're each going to need at least 4 of those. And then lastly, inside the bag are the different flavors that we're going to mix in with water in each of these cups, and those are the flavors that we're going to be tasting. So for the first one, which is salty, we're just using regular table salt. So that's one of the bags. For the second, which is bitter, you've got a little bag full of cocoa. So this is baking cocoa, not the sweet cocoa or sweet chocolate that we think about in candy bars. It's kind of a bitter cocoa. If you've ever accidentally taken a taste of cocoa out of the cocoa container. Another good bitter food, if you want to try some other ones, is coffee. So you could throw some coffee grounds in a cup and try that and see what that tastes like, if you can get your bitter taste receptors going with those. The third one is the sweet flavor. So we're going to use sugar for this, just regular table sugar. And then the last one is sour. And for that flavor, you know, you would think about lemons or limes or some of those kinds of fruits, and that's definitely where we get the sour flavors the strongest. But this is citric acid in the little bag, and citric acid is kind of the powdered form of that acid that citrus fruits produce. So it's pretty concentrated sour. So it's kind of like if you were making lemonade and you had the powdered lemonade mix, the kind without the sugar added yet. That's pretty much what this is. So we've got all 4 flavors. We've got them spread out. We've got our sheet. We're ready to go. So the first step in the experiment is to find the partner. I'm sure you can do that for yourself. We're going to mix up all 4 of the substances. Today I'm just going to do one because this experiment is really just going to be between you and your partner, and you're going to be learning on your own. So I'm just going to kind of demonstrate what we've got going on here. You're going to need some water. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up this salty one with some water. The other thing you're going to need from home is just a glass of water, and in between each taste test you're going to be rinsing out your mouth and spitting that flavor out so that you can move on to the next one with a clean palate, as they say. So I've got some salt in here, there's some water in there, sorry, and then I'm going to add some salt. And you can experiment with how much you want to add. I might throw half of that in there. And then we're going to stir that up. Let's see. Got a little spoon here, so I'm going to stir that up. And then we're going to do the tasting. So once you have all 4 of your flavors mixed and ready to go, the tester is going to take a Q-tip and dunk it in the flavor. So hang on one second. I don't have a partner today here at the library. We're all socially distanced from each other and wearing masks, so it's not the best place to be touching each other's mouths. So I'm going to use Monkey, who's a puppet that I use for story time sometimes, to show you how to do this part of the experiment. So you will notice on the sheet that we've handed out that there are 4 columns. There's 1 each for salty, bitter, sweet, and sour. So we're going to start with the salty column, the very first column, and under that there's 4 rows, and they are left side, right side, the top towards the front, and the back. So those are all the parts of the tongue. And there have been a lot of theories that one part of the tongue might contain the sour receptors and another part might have more of the salty receptors. And that's part of this experiment, is to find out, does your tongue have different receptors in different parts of it, or are they spread throughout the tongue? So that'll be, and it differs from person to person, I'll just warn you. So whatever you're feeling is totally accurate for you, and that's what you need to record on the sheet. So I'm gonna get this Q-tip full of the salty water, and we're just going to go down the list. So first I'm going to touch a little bit on Monkey's the left side of Monkey's tongue, which is right over here. And then Monkey's going to think about it and tell me, oh boy, that was really, really, really salty. Or boy, I could hardly taste that at all. So we have a system where 4 is the saltiest and 1 is the least salty. So we're going in order of intensity, greatest to smallest. So 4, 3, 2, or 1. So he's going to let me know, boy, that was a 4, or that was a 2. I didn't really taste a whole lot, but I could kind of taste it. So that's what we're going to do for the left side. And then the next one down, we're going to put that number right in that little box on the chart. And the next one's the right side. So we're going to get this wet again, and we're going to touch it on the right side of the tongue and let him taste that and tell me what he thinks. And then we're going to touch the top of the tongue in the front, right up near the top, and the last one is the back of the tongue. Don't jab it back there so far that you're making someone gag, but get a good way back there so that we can test those receptors as well. So when you're done with the salty, you're going to throw away this Q-tip, get a new one, and then you're going to move on to the bitter. And then you're going to do the sweet, and then you're going to do the sour. And then when Monkey's all done testing, he would be the one to take the Q-tips and to test the same stuff on me. And then you guys can talk amongst yourselves and see what's different and what is the same. So it'll be really interesting to see what you all come up with. I hope you have fun with this experiment. It's an easy one to do. You could try other food groups or other types of foods and see how they taste on your tongue. And just do some experimenting of your own. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you have fun with the experiment, and join me next week when we'll have another installment of Random Acts of Science.